Good evening and welcome to the Good evening and welcome to the Historic Review Board meeting for this evening for November 25th, 2025. At this time, I'll call this meeting to order and roll call, please.
All right, Board Member Edgar?
Here.
Board Member Green?
Here.
Board Member Fulkerson?
Here.
And Chair Powell?
Here. Very good. Next, do we have any, we'll call for public comments on any item not listed on the agenda this evening? Does anyone like to speak to that? Okay, anything online? We're good. Thank you, I saw those. Okay, then we'll move on into our first public hearing. I'm going to read our opening statement here. We'll now commence the public hearings on the following three items, HR 2513 and HR 2514. Do we have the other ones in handy? Yeah, HR 2515 and HR 2516. The criteria for approval of a land use action are contained in Chapter 17 of the Oregon City Municipal Code. The proposed development must comply with applicable provisions contained in the City of Oregon City Comprehensive Plan. Generally, unless otherwise noted, if a request is found to be consistent with the municipal code, it is considered consistent with the comprehensive plan. If you wish to participate in this hearing, including challenges for bias or conflict of interest, you must complete the sign-in form located on the table at the front of the room and deliver it to staff. Please do so immediately. The chair will only recognize those who have submitted completed forms. Testimony will be taken in the following order. First, the applicant, then testimony in favor, then testimony in opposition, and then rebuttal by the applicant. When recognized by the chair, please come forward to the podium, give your name, address, and make your statement. All testimony, arguments, and evidence presented regarding this request must be directed toward the applicable criteria and other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which this person believes to apply to the decision. Please address only the applicable criteria for the decision. Please do not repeat testimony. If you wish, you may choose merely to agree with the previous speaker's statements. An issue which may be the basis for an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals shall be raised not later than the close of the record at or following the final evidentiary hearing. Such issues shall be raised and accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision makers and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Based on that issue, failure of persons to participate in the public hearing, either orally or in writing, precludes that person's right of appeal to the City Commission or LUBA. Written testimony submitted prior to the hearing constitutes participation in the hearing. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the decision maker to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. The Commission shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing pursuant to the standards contained in ORS 197.763. At this time, do any of the board members have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact regarding this application, or have you visited the site? And I'll start with you.
I visited the site. I have no conflicts of interest.
I visited the site, no conflict of interest, no ex parte contact.
Okay.
I visited the site, no conflict of interest or ex parte contact.
Okay, well, I have visited the site, and I will mention that I was at a neighborhood meeting last month, and this came up as a report in our land use review, and it was discussed for a couple minutes, and really nothing came out of it. I'm happy to answer any questions if there's issues related to it, but it was basically just a report to the general body. So does anybody from the audience wish to provide a comment or challenge that conflict of interest? And if not, then we'll move on to this public hearing, and I think that is Jude. Very good.
Good evening, Chair Powell and board members. As you know, I'm Jude Tadeus, planner here with the Oregon City Community Development Department, and tonight I'm presenting to you the staff report and recommendations for General Land Use Application 25-00045 and Historic Review 25-00013 and 00014. These 00013 is the historic review for demolition of an accessory garage that is existing on site, and 14 is for new construction of a 6-unit multifamily building at 1102 7th Street on the same lot as the Sarah Hughes House. And I need to advance the slot, and it's not
It's
advancing.
not working. What am I? Let's see. Oh, okay. Hold on.
Okay.
1 second. I'm sharing. That should do. Oh, I will do it by hand, sorry.
Okay. I'll just say next slide every time, I guess. All right. So the applicant is seeking approval to do two main things. One, demolish an existing decades-old detached accessory garage that's currently in a state of visible disrepair, constructed of non-conforming materials that are not compatible with the design of the Sarah Hughes House. I believe it's corrugated painted metal and vinyl garage doors and that kind of thing. And then new construction of a detached 6-unit, 2-story multifamily building to be located 3 to 4 feet behind the Sarah Hughes House, as currently proposed and facing the corner side lot line abutting J.Q. Adams Street in the McLaughlin Conservation District. So given public comments that we've received thus far, and which we'll go over shortly, planning staff is seeking direction from the Historic Review Board on the aspects of the proposed design that may require revisions to windows, walls, eaves, gutters, porch posts, mechanical equipment locations, building separation from the landmark, and more to best coordinate the project with the issues that the building department has called out. Planning staff believe that the applicant would benefit from the board's direction on the design priorities needed to inform their choices on how they can revise the project so that historic and building standards can coordinate with one another. In order to give the applicant time to adopt the appropriate changes in light of HRB direction and submit a more approvable plan for review, we also recommend a continuance of this review to the January 27th, 2026 meeting, and approval of a 30-day extension of the 120-day review timeline to April 3rd, 2026. Just in case of appeal, we have time to schedule, meetings with a public hearing with the City Commission in a case like that. The Historic Review Board may also separately consider HR 25-0013, which is the demolition request for the existing non-conforming garage on the site. At this time, or in conjunction with the recommended continuance of 14 to the next meeting. If you could advance the slide, please. So public notice of hearing sign was posted at the subject site, actually 2 of them were, one on each frontage on November 4th. Public notice of hearing letters were mailed to property owners within a 300-foot radius of the subject site that same day, according to municipal code. And as of noon today, planning has received 2 public comments regarding this project. And I'll sort of start with those now. The first is from a Haley McGinnis of 610 J.Q. Adams Street. And the second is from Guy Altman, plans examiner from the Oregon City Building Division. So let's see here. Haley McGinnis expressed some concerns that are outside the purview of the Historic Review Board criteria, including issues of street parking, rental to owner-occupied ratio in the neighborhood, housing density in the neighborhood, and other matters. However, one of the concerns that was expressed involved the proposed new building's height relative to the existing landmark, the Sarah Hughes House, as well as neighboring landmarks, and the height of the new construction's potential to adversely impact the district. Building height and proximity and resulting impacts to landmarks nearby and the district overall are items that the Historic Review Board may consider in light of this application. The second public comment that we received prior to the draft of the staff report came from Guy Altman, Plans Examiner for the Building Division, who expressed 6 separate concerns with the proposed design and its ability to meet various building codes. Both of these comments were provided in the updated agenda packet. The concerns with this comment are that if the applicant were to update their plans to resolve the concerns of the building department, staff is concerned that the form that these updates could take could very likely change the design of the building as well as the neighboring Sarah Hughes House and their proximity to one another in ways that the Historic Review Board should be aware of and provide direction on. With that, planning staff are seeking direction from the Historic Review Board on the question proposed by Haley McGinnis concerning the building's height and proximity to the existing landmark. And so that's one item that we request direction on. To go more into Guy Altman's public comments, I'll discuss those in details a little bit later because they're more involved and technical. But as it stands now, I think we can move to the next slide. There we go. The subject site is located at the southern corner of 7th Street and J.Q. Adams Street in the McLaughlin Conservation District. The property directly abuts the Anna Foster Jones House, located to the south, the Ethel and Jabez Rail House, 2 doors down, and it sits across the intersection from Ely Brothers store. These are the 3 closest designated landmarks. And the lot is approximately 5,325 square feet, measuring 53.25 feet wide along 7th Street and 100 feet deep along J.Q. Adams. It's zoned mixed-use corridor, which permits a variety of different uses, including retail, personal services, and high-density housing. We'll move to the next one. So this is the street view of the front of the Sarah Hughes House. According to the 1990 Historic Inventory Form, the house at 1102 to 1106 7th Street is a modest vernacular Queen Anne with a hip roof. Its square plan sits on a high concrete basement skirted by grooved plywood. The building is clad in channel drop siding. Windows are 1/1 wood double hung with lamb's tongues. Under the front bay, there is a panel of diagonal shiplap. The inset porch has a solid rail with slender posts and brackets. At the eave are scrolled double brackets. Sheet metal hoods shelter the side entrances. The minimal stair at the front is a recent rebuild. There is some early porch infill on the rear and a garage addition. The front door is an incompatible placement as of that report. This second image here shows the Google Street view of the Sarah Hughes House facing southeast from J.Q. Adams. The accessory structure that's proposed to be demolished is encircled there in red for your reference. Another thing that I would add too is that the applicant is proposing to remove the driveway, what appears to be a gravel driveway there, and then the curb cut into the driveway as well. To get into the demolition aspect, so project 13, I've provided views of the accessory structure to be demolished from various angles. These were provided by the applicant with their submittal from various directions. You can see the minimal eaves, the corrugated metal material that's kind of pulling away from the structure in points and is dented and damaged. The lack of windows, the sort of vinyl garage door faces, etc. If you want to kind of continue through these other similar photos here, from the angles Above now on the screen, you can kind of see some degradation along the sides as well of the building. This is a building of a design that if it were proposed today on several levels would, would not be permitted. It would be it's a non-conforming building given its materials and its, and other elements. So in light of all of that, the existing accessory structure was not identified as a contributing component to the criteria used in the original designation of the Sarah Hughes House. Its deteriorated state may in fact detract from the elements of the Sarah Hughes House if the accessory structure were to remain in place. Demolition of the existing accessory structure, which is in a deteriorating state and was constructed out of incompatible and non-conforming materials, so that additional needed housing can be constructed on site according to a zoning designation, will help promote the public welfare and safety and stabilize and improve property values according to our findings in the staff report. So staff recommends approval of HR 25-00013, the demolition of the existing accessory structure with conditions that I go into at the end of this report. So there's that aspect. Should we move forward with 14 as well? Okay. So we can go to the next one here. This is the general site plan. I kind of had to finagle the image a little bit so that it sits appropriately, but the existing house is kind of there in the center and the new construction is there in the lower left corner. So the applicant has submitted the following narrative. The applicant is proposing a new build, a 6-unit, 2-story multiplex. The structure will be built where the current garage stands on the northwest corner of the property. The footprint is approximately 1,150 square feet with 2,300 square feet of living space between the two floors. They're aware the property is within the historic district and have made corrections and changes as requested by the Historic Review Board in the May 2023 design advice they attended. To meet the requirements for this area, the building will provide more housing in the city of Oregon City and bring a more appealing look to the property, according to their description. If we move on to the next slide, this is one of the design renders that the applicant submitted to show the relationship between the existing structure and the new proposed. In May 2023, the applicant appeared before the Historic Review Board for design advice. And at that time, the Historic Review Board recommended they update the front facade of the new structure to include paired windows and advised that false windows along the southwestern property line, which is the property line to the right there, false windows in that area were acceptable if necessary for fire protection because that wall is built on the property line. The applicant appears to have adapted the changes recommended at that time by the board to this new proposal. However, in light of Haley McGinnis's comments, the Historic Review Board may consider the proposed building height and prominence as rendered in this photo relative to the Sarah Hughes House and surrounding landmarks. So I just wanted to highlight that while this photo was up. If we go to the next image. Same deal here. This is another angle of the proposed new structure and its relationship to the existing landmark, given its height. And we can move on to the next aspect where I'd like to get into Guy Altman's comments specifically. So in light of his comments, I will discuss the following concerns with the design of the structure, its relationship with the landmark, and concerns about how the new construction might have to change to meet code requirements and HRB guidelines. First issue, this image is a view submitted by the applicant of the roof plan for the existing structure there on the left and the new structure on the right. And I've measured out based on the scale of the image that was submitted, the approximate distance measurements, not gutter to gutter, but eave to eave between the existing and the new. measuring anywhere from 5 inches to just over a foot at the building's currently proposed location on the site. One of the issues that Guy Altman highlighted in his comments was that the proximity of the two buildings and the egress space between them it could be problematic. The current proposal shows the new and existing landmark structures roofs as little as 5 inches apart and 12 to 24 inches apart from most of the length that the buildings are next to one another. The wall separation between the buildings ranges from 3 feet in some areas and 4 feet for much of the applicable length. And that's actually shown in the next image. We bring it up. Okay, thank you. So in here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little highlighted call out measurement there,
We're here.
yeah, thank you. Where the buildings are 3 feet apart from one another. For the rest of the length of those structures, they're 4 feet apart. And so because of their proximity to one another, building code would require the new structure and the existing landmark to have fire-rated walls and roofs. This means that the existing landmark would likely need to have its southwestern facing window removed and replaced with a fire-rated wall with no openings. No apertures for the existing meters, mini-split mechanical equipment along the same wall, which is shown in that image to the right. So that window, the meters, and there's a mini-split pipe there. I think the equipment is obscured by the trash cans there. But those are items that would need to be moved as well to accommodate the existing proximity to one another that these two buildings have. And so the Historic Review Board would want to consider whether the existing proximity is acceptable and therefore removal of that window to put in a firewall would be acceptable, or if the Historic Review Board has a higher priority on retaining that window and requiring the buildings to maintain a further distance from one another in order to retain that element on the existing structure. Okay. The next item, the southeastern wall of the new building is only set back 3 feet from the property line, and thus the egress windows in the bedrooms and the openings for the mini splits would not be permitted this close to the property line in a firewall unless the sprinkler system is upgraded. For the building to be positioned in such a way on the site, egress windows in the bedrooms on units 3 and 6, which you see in that image there called out in those green clouded areas, would need to be removed altogether. Otherwise, the plans would need to be updated to show the entire wall either moved sufficiently further from the property line to create the required fire separation, or that the building will use the correct sprinkler system to permit windows and mini split apertures there. Next slide, please. This is sort of another angle of that same circumstance. The mini split locations are proposed in that 3-foot setback area between the wall and the southeastern property line. And so relatedly, the mini splits that are proposed to be ground mounted there create egress issues as the egress windows for the bedrooms along that wall require an unobstructed 3-foot wide path that would be obstructed by this equipment. There isn't 3 feet of space to get past there if you need to jump out of the window. Removal of the mini splits to the southwestern wall of the building, because the building's already to 0 lot line, would encroach on the neighbor's property. Removal of the mini splits to the area between the two buildings would create obvious egress issues as well, because they're already 3 to 4 feet apart. And removal to the front facade of the new proposed structure would create mechanical equipment visibility concerns on the front facade that may concern the Historic Review Board, which is why we're requesting additional direction and guidance and consideration from you on this aspect as well. We could go to the next image. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. This is the southwestern wall that's on the 0 lot line. The windows that you see on this facade are the false windows that the applicant adapted in light of the design advice from May of 2023 to achieve the zero lot line along the wall there. The porch post, however, the porch post supporting the roof on this edge of the property, according to Guy's comments, constitutes an opening in the wall that would need to be addressed. This may require a redesign that changes the front facade of the structure, whether through the extension of the firewall to the post, movement of the post more than 3 feet inside the property line, or an adequate sprinkler solution that could be visible from the street facade. This is explained in issue 4 of his comments, but I've called out the porch post in question there in those red circles from both the JQ Adams elevation and the southwestern elevation. Next slide, please. So this, let's see here. This is another sort of circumstance that requires additional review. It's unclear the degree to which the proposal encroaches on the property line for the neighboring lot, but the roof plan here appears to show the zero overhang inside the gutter, and therefore the gutter projecting over the property line. It's unclear how far, because some of the, in the roof plan measured out according to scale, it's about 3 3/4 inches projection. In the building detail, they showed it's a 5-inch projection. Either way, we wouldn't be able to approve a structure that encroaches on the neighboring property line. So that's another aspect that would need to get corrected. This is already a zero overhang that was adapted based on Historic Review Board concerns back in May of 2023. So it may require the building to be moved over a certain amount to clear the gutter of the property line. So that's another concern. And then similarly, the next question here, issue number 5, the building wall along the southwest property line shows no overhang. However, the plans indicate that the roof gutter is, going to project that amount. Furthermore, the foundation footing, which is called out here, as well as the drain pipe and retaining wall along that foundation, appear to encroach on the neighbor's property nearly 13 inches. If the outer wall showing where the property line is indicated by that red arrow in the image. Project can't be approved with the footing, retaining wall, and pipe crossing property lines. That area can be redesigned. We would probably want to see a different solution there. But to adapt this particular design, they'd need to move the structure over at least, the wall over at least 12.75 inches to be fully clear, which would also correct the gutter problem because it's shallower. However, that raises concerns if the building is moved over because it currently only has 3 to 4 feet of clearance. So if the building at its current width is moved over, that also presents egress issues between the two buildings and questions of encroachment on the Sarah Hughes House. That would also require the window removal and the removal of the meters and the mini splits and all of that. Next slide here. The Historic Review Board is not tasked with evaluating building permit requirements. However, compliance with the building code requirements may result in a proposal that is inconsistent with Historic Review Board policies. Therefore, planning staff are seeking direction from the board on a list of these design priorities that the applicant would want to integrate into their plans as they revise the project to meet these concerns. And I list 9 different aspects that we seek direction on from the Historic Review Board. I figured that this way was the easiest so that we could sort of draw a box around what would be approvable and what wouldn't as they're trying to entertain solutions to the building code issues. So I termed these things minimal acceptable separation distance between the structures to avoid an adverse impact on the Sarah Hughes House. So that gets to the questions of their proximity, as well as the consequences of having to remove the window that's in the existing structure and all the other equipment, that sort of thing. Minimum acceptable corner side setback reduction to avoid an adverse impact on the Sarah Hughes House. So if the new structure has to be moved further off that southeast property line to provide better egress so that they can have the egress windows in the back, and locate the mini splits there, then the whole structure would have to be moved further forward or redesigned to be shallower. And so we'd want to know how close they could get without adversely impacting the views from JQ Adams of the Sarah Hughes House. There's no minimum setback requirement there for the mixed-use corridor zoning. So it's a matter of Historic Review Board criteria. We'd want those aspects the knock-on effects of that would impact the minimum acceptable front porch depth for the front facade of the new structure, the acceptable extent to which windows on the landmark may be removed to resolve firewall concerns, the acceptable extent to which windows on the new structure's elevations may be removed to resolve fire and egress concerns. Next slide, please. The acceptable extent to which eave depths may be reduced because of the closeness of the eaves there in the roofing plan that you saw, should the building need to be moved over. Circumstances, if any, under which the location of mechanical equipment on the street-facing facades would be acceptable. Preferences on extending the southwestern wall or moving the porch post or some other solution to resolve that building opening fire separation question. And any additional priorities that the board may wish to express concerning the details that you've seen of this proposal. So there's a lot of hair on this, as you can see, which is why staff we're recommending approval of the demolition of the existing accessory garage, but we're requesting direction from the Historic Review Board on the priorities and recommendations you could provide concerning revisions the applicant should incorporate into the new construction so that the needs of the building code can be met in a way that meets Historic Review Board design guidelines for new construction. I've got recommended conditions of approval here. 1 and 5 are sort of the most pressing. 2, 3, and 4 are kind of ideas, proposals that we can discuss. So yes, based on these findings, the findings in the staff report, we recommend that you approve with conditions the demolition and continue the new construction review to the January 27th, 2026 meeting, providing direction to staff and the applicant as requested. So you have several options here. Approve HR 2513 with the recommended conditions or revised conditions, deny the whole general land use application in whole or in part, and provide further direction to staff and the applicant, or continue one or both and provide further direction and keep the public record open until January 27th, 2026, approving a 30-day extension of the decision timeline to April 3rd. With that,
Just real quickly, it's actually the applicant that provides the extension, so it's something we'll need to ask confirmation from the applicant tonight.
Okay.
Before we leave. That's the 120-day extension is wholly controlled by the applicant.
right, okay. So with that, because Guy Altman is a member of city staff and provided those comments, should we invite him up to discuss those?
Sure, I think we should, because I think a lot of, some of our questions will hopefully be answered by that.
Yeah. So this is a continuation of staff's
Correct.
presentation. So if Guy wants to come up, and then we'll open it to the applicant and public comments.
Good evening.
Hi, Guy.
Yeah, my name's Guy Altman. As mentioned, I am a building code plans examiner here at the City of Oregon City. I did provide these comments to planning as requested. I'm happy to clarify or answer any questions that you have. One point of clarification I might just bring up is with regards to the building code. The Oregon Structural Specialty Code does have a provision in which it addresses two buildings on one piece of property. And there is an option if the applicant seeks to pursue that, in which the two buildings can be reviewed as one. The caveat there is that the buildings must have the same construction type, which they currently do, type 5B, as defined by the building code. And if one is sprinklered, the other has to be sprinklered with the same type of sprinkler system. So that's what that does. That then gives the building code allows both buildings to be reviewed as one, and some of the issues that may come up with regards to the sidewall of the existing structure relative to openings might be able to go away. And then, but with the provisions that Jude pointed out in terms of 3-foot minimum means of egress, unless some other design is explored, still exist. When you are reviewing them as two, as Jude talked about, two separate buildings, we strike what's called an imaginary property line between the two, and the fire separation distance, which is basically what all these issues is measured from that to the next combustible surface. And so with these very close, that's a fire rated.
Could you get your microphone a little closer? Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
Yeah. That'd be a fire rated concern that needs to be dealt with.
Can you explain we talked a little bit about the post, the front porch
Yeah.
post. What's the issue with that?
So the opening, and Jude's pointing to it on that side property line. So the building code, because that wall plane is less, it's actually, it's all on the property line, but it's less than 3 feet. It is, the code views it as an opening because it is supporting structure. The post is creating an opening space from a point of structure back to the front wall of the apartment building. We frequently will see this. A process called a building code appeal is, or alternate methods, is frequently applied to that and can be resolved by sprinklering and fire-rated construction of the post and a soffit. That is an alternative, but that would have to take place, through this building code process.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Questions for staff?
Yes, one is related to the faux windows. Is that a planning department requirement? Or is that touching on comments that we had from 2023 of getting more distinction on that side of the building?
It's Board Member Green, it is a reconciliation of different standards between the fact that this is zoned mixed-use corridor and requires on the side facade at least, I believe, 15% window length on the ground floor, and the fact that the building is proposed at the lot line where no building openings are permitted. So squaring that particular circle, the solution to that particular problem was to put in false windows.
Okay, so why the faux windows on the back elevation then? There's 2 faux windows on the back elevation.
I believe it's the same consideration on that rear facade
Same.
according to our site plan and design review code criteria. There needs to be a certain amount of window
Okay.
length on all sides.
I also think that when the applicant came for design ideas, one of the things we were concerned with was massing on that side, and that, I think, was an attempt, although this design has changed since the first one, so, you know,
Yeah.
that's part of it as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I guess, what I was wondering is if it's a requirement, and that's a way of meeting the requirement, you know, without penetrating the firewall. You know, I guess my particular preference, I think, would almost be a blank wall versus full windows, but, you know, what works, you know, in other words, meeting the requirement, so that's a requirement. And then to the point of combining them as one building, if they're reviewed as one building, am I understanding correctly, that removes the imaginary property line and there's no firewall separation on either building required? I mean, there would be a firewall, seems like there would be a firewall separation between units, but
Yeah, and I believe the existing, rather the proposed building currently has a 1-hour rated wall assembly, but yeah, that could take away the requirement to have to upgrade the existing side wall of the existing historic structure.
I
Correct?
think there was a conversation of if both were actually sprinkled, that would be another way of seeing as a combined building.
Correct.
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 My understanding is they would have to both be sprinkled in
Yeah.
the same way in order to be considered a combined building.
You could remove the need for there to be fire-resistant walls installed, as was seen on the side that abuts the historic home.
It would remove the need for the existing wall to be upgraded,
Okay, yeah.
right? Provided the other code elements are accounted for, 3-foot clearance and,
Right.
so, yeah.
Are you saying then that the firewall, by combining them, there's not a reason to upgrade the existing Sarah Hughes House to have a firewall upgrades on it and firewall upgrades to the new building, which is, what, 4 feet apart at that point?
Correct.
So 4 feet, and that does not include the gutters and other things that are protruding out above. And I'm just concerned about this elimination of firewalls.
Well, the proposed new wall would serve as basically a separation between that portion of the building and the adjacent existing building. The code requires, this is a little bit different, but the code requires 1-hour rated separations between dwelling units. And if this is all then seen as one building, that's achieved by the proposed new sidewall.
Right, though the Sarah Hughes House is currently,
in other
is
words,
not sprinkled,
one
right? So
firewall
that would be.
Currently not sprinkled,
Instead of
yeah.
two
Just
firewalls, if you have the imaginary property line between.
Yeah. And you combine them.
So it almost seems to me that aspect would be an applicant evaluation and determination of the pros and cons of the cost of removing the equipment in the window on the Sarah Hughes house and making that a firewall versus what obstacles may be encountered. And I don't know what it would be as far as evaluating the whole parcel as one building, you know, as far as building code. And sounds like you would be adding more fire sprinklers, which brings another question to me. the rear wall, where the two egress windows are for the two bedrooms, is the new building going to have to be sprinkled in order to accommodate those penetrations in the firewall?
Yes, the base code would require this two-story structure to be sprinkled regardless. Currently, the current design shows it as being a 13R system. But the code, section 705.3, states that if you are 3 to 5 feet from a property line, there's no openings allowed with what constitutes a 13R system. It'd have to be upgraded to a type 13 system, which is just, it has more flow and due to fire separation distance from that rear property line.
Okay.
If you're combining these, if you were to do that, does combining actually mean connecting? Physically
No.
connecting the building?
No.
Does it
They would be
require
two
that?
different ones,
They're
correct?
still two different.
With an
we're just
invisible,
Reviewing them as one unit.
Right, but so they don't have to be, that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure.
and there would be a 3-foot difference between the
3-foot
two?
minimum if
Minimum.
that's used as a means of
So
egress
it could
or
be-
access or correct.
Okay, but it could be closer, or
Well,
minimum, never mind.
there are some other
Right.
concerns, you know, it does require some clearances in front of the electric meters. Currently, there, I believe the primary entrance door to one of the rear proposed new units does egress out that way. So that would have to be maintained.
Would adding that space then mean that the setback would have to come up? Is that what you said? They'd have to encroach more upon the street?
If they didn't sprinkle the building and by extension sprinkle both buildings with the same type,
That's
as I
correct.
understand it, then in order to, if they chose not to do the sprinkling, in order to keep the egress windows out of the bedrooms, which I believe is another requirement, having egress windows in those bedrooms, they would have to move the building closer to the street.
Would you need 5-foot setback on the back to?
That's
5 foot?
correct.
So
And then-
2 foot?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a push.
Yeah.
The egress along between the two buildings, nothing can be there to impede people's movement to make it legal. Is that correct?
Correct, as designed.
So you can't have any of the mini splits or anything else that's there, like the electrical meters and stuff. They would all have to be relocated on the existing building. But
So if the building moved 2 feet forward, the mini splits could stay in back because you would still have a 3-foot egress path, and you would then not need to sprinkle that building.
Or just to clarify, the new building will need to be sprinkled regardless.
Okay, all right.
But if you did move it 2 feet forward, it takes care of the the required 3 feet means of egress from those two egress windows. It allows those two egress windows to remain from base code.
Okay.
Yeah.
the mini split.
So go ahead.
The mini split units that are outside, they have to be 1 foot away from the building. Is that if I understand, that's a code? So they can't be butted right up to the side of the building. You have to have 12 inches separation between them and the side of the building. So if I take then the width of the mini split unit, and let's say they're 16 inches or so wide along through there. So now I'm 12 and you know, I'm sitting out there probably 2.5 feet into a corridor that's going to be used for egress or for people.
I think that may vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. I don't,
I I put a mini split into a commercial building that I have.
Yeah.
And I found that the code said 12 inches. And I just went through that.
We may have a building official here. I don't think I think that's a manufacturer's requirement for ventilation, so I think that varies, but I could be wrong on that.
And maybe the applicant can address that when they get up, but as I see it, I think these mini splits are actually attached to the building.
So-
And then they're, whether they're through wall units or, so they're, if I'm reading it right, I look at the elevations, looks like they're attached to the building, and that can be code compliant. It's the space between those and the property line that we're primarily
right.
concerned with.
So one option that could be considered would be roof mount, and it seems to me it could be on the back because you've got a hip roof design there. You've got a carrier truss 6 feet in from the back wall, so you could carve out a 6-foot low slope mechanical area in the back wall, which would not be visible from the street anyplace. Yes, in that area there, where she's marking that. And do the roof mount HVAC units to get them out of the egress path. And then if you go the enhanced sprinkler, you could keep your egress windows there without moving the building 2 feet forward. If you move the building 2 feet forward, that starts complicating the floor plan for the living room on unit 3 and unit 6 too. So moving it forward 2 feet towards to the street is challenging in my view.
Board Member Green, I was about to bring that up as well. If we go back to the site plan.
This one or a different one?
Let's see here. That one works. As you spotted, units 3 and 6, there's a measurement that I'm seeing based on the scale of the site plan between the Sarah Hughes House and the egress path between that and the proposed new construction, an area that's 3 feet 9 inches.
Okay.
That would be reduced to 1 foot 9 inches if the building were moved forward with its current
Yeah.
design another 2
Yeah.
feet, which would be problematic.
That is problematic in my mind. So, I mean, it seems like for that aspect of it, there seems to be value in considering the roof mount option for the mini splits and the upgraded sprinkler to leave the egress windows on that back wall. And then not further constrict the plan. As far as the evaluating, I guess, back to the separation between the existing building, that probably, it seems to me that is maybe a cost value evaluation. In other words, how much is it going to cost to sprinkle that building and make that comply versus removing the moving the electric meters and removing the window. I don't know if that's an egress window that would be removed. If that's not a required window, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that. You can't see it once the new building's there. So it would almost seem to be a cost evaluation in my mind for that part of it.
I do want to make sure we do have public comment and deliberation, so
Yeah.
make sure you use this time to ask, staff questions, but then we want to make sure we have time for applicant.
Yeah, I think that's all I have for staff myself.
Okay.
I had a question, because I wasn't here last year, and it sounds like that's when I went before the board to talk about design requirements and whatnot. But I I mean, I'm sure this was discussed, but was there an option to reduce just the general footprint of this structure? And is there any way to borrow from interior square footage to gain some of this that we're looking for on the exterior? Yeah, obviously that's a problematic question too for design reasons, but yeah, just wondering.
The Historic Review Board did bring that item up, and I believe the conversation with the applicant was that reducing the size of the structure was less preferable than other solutions that were foreseen at that time. Obviously, with the design advice isn't a land use review, and so by the time the applicant comes in and with their changes, with their land use application, it's subject to public notice and comment, at which point building has the ability to review it. A lot of these comments, a lot of these notes were, I believe, discussed in the pre-application conference for this land use application as well. But yeah, reduction of the size of the structure is an item that is fully within bounds for the Historic Review Board to review or consider, or a condition of approval that can be made. And I think one of the reasons why the staff report was structured in this way to gain direction from you, from the board on that set of 8 or 9 priorities, is because if we were here suggesting to the applicant exactly how they should redesign their project, we'd be here for a very, very long time. And so being able to make findings on the actual proposal is something that I as staff could not figure out how to do in a way that, because you're kind of pushing wrinkles out of a tablecloth a little bit. And so I presented the staff report in this way so that the applicant could be clear on what your priorities were, so that they can then come back at the next meeting with a new proposal that meets these priorities and building requirements.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, then let's bring up the applicant. Thank you, Guy. Evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
And your name and city of residence?
I am Trevor Tyree with American Made Construction. I am Tony Uzovenham, the applicant.
Great. Okay, do you have a presentation, or do you want to have something you'd like to bring up and discuss?
And I'm happy to, if there's a certain slide you want me to go back to, if that helps you, I can go to a certain slide.
Yeah, to kind of go over some of the stuff that was brought up about the concerns from the land use review, we have gone back with our designer to kind of remedy some options to meet those standards that we need. I submitted those earlier tonight. You guys didn't get those yet, but we're ideally what we're looking to do is figure out what direction does the HRB want us to go as far as keeping it within your guys' guidelines to make these changes versus making these changes and then not meeting your guys' requirements and then coming back and forth. Ideally, we want as much as that information as we can gather from you guys so then we can make those design changes.
And I think that's great. And I think there's two things that you're looking at here. I mean, we got building permit, right? You've got to meet certain requirements for the building permit, and then there's the board up here that there are concerns and our issues. So, and some of our concerns tie directly into the building codes. So that'll be the challenge, right? Because what we want to see as a board, and whether has to be able to meet that building code requirement. So, I mean, we're all willing to certainly to talk about that for sure. But there are two things that we really have to talk about here. And I think the building code issue should probably be, that's the biggest deal. I mean, there's 6 pretty big deals there, right, that we need to review. If you've already reviewed a lot of that and you've submitted something to staff, that's great. We don't have that, so it'll be tough to talk about. You can certainly talk about what you've done, and I think that'd be great if you've done something to address those specifically. But again, there's 6 items that are building code issues that it won't go any further until they say yay.
Correct, totally agree. One question I did have for the mini split units, would the Historic Review Board allow those units to be suspended up high, not on the roof to change the roof lines and stuff, but instead of it being a ground mount, it would be a higher mount to allow for that proper egress? On the backside of the units.
Wall mount.
Yes, wall mount,
Yeah.
correct.
I personally, well, go ahead.
No, I'd love to hear what you have to say first about it, and then I'll.
I personally would be okay with that, because either way, you're moving the visual up. You know, I suggested possibly a roof cutout, and I actually went by and looked at the property specifically with what can be seen on that back wall, and very little. You just don't really get a public view of that wall. So honestly, I personally, I think I would be okay with wall mount units up above the egress path, or roof mount units myself, to solve that aspect of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not concerned so much with it visually, especially because what, you said it's not a viewable feature, but it's, yeah, I just think to set the precedent would be my concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, it's not visible at a lower level, but the higher you make it, is it visible?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that would be my concern.
Yeah.
Because we already
Big
have a height
trees back
comment.
behind, big mature trees behind the building, so.
Right now.
Yeah, right now, and they could go away, but there's no, even if they went away, the next street over is far enough away, there really wouldn't be much public view, just maybe neighbor view, as I see it.
There's a point to in placement of the outside unit in a mini split is serviceability after the fact. And sometimes inspectors or people could come in and say, okay, how do you get to it? Well, you got to build a facility that allows people, a technician to get to that unit to service it after the fact. And so that can be a possibility, and it's within all of this, it's that distance of 4 feet separating both buildings can't be obstructed. It needs to, the needs there to make sure the existing building has probably little to no firewall or anything associated with it. And so I have this concern that it could be problematic. I'll use that word.
I don't think the building official is going to allow anything in the egress path. I mean, so.
Yeah, it's
they
got to
have
be, it's got to be
Yeah, they'll have to
100%
decide
clean.
how they
But-
achieve it,
But if I got many splits along there, I put them, wall mount them up there, somebody's got to be able to figure out how to get up there and do service on them.
Right. But
Well-
they will allow it if we come up.
So to
Correct.
your, sorry.
Is that right? They will allow the mini splits on the ground as long as the setback
They-
comes up, correct?
They can be wall mounted, the point being, and the building official would have to give the parameters. They can, you
Okay.
see mini splits wall mounted on up and 3rd and 4th story buildings and so forth. So they definitely can be. So if they can achieve that, it's just simply a visual. In other words, get them out of the egress path for somebody needing egress out of there for fire egress, getting them out of the pedestrian egress path. So it would be simply a visual. And serviceability, that's basically up to code requirement and the applicant's willingness to accommodate that. I mean, it gets challenging, but that's
Right.
not our purview.
I've seen PGE, well, they required me to move whole meter bases up and when I moved them up, then I had to build a platform so that the electricians could get to the meter base. And that was a requirement that I got from PGE.
Yep.
Well, so to answer your question, I think I'm less concerned. I'm fine with it. I'm less concerned about it being a precedent-setting issue because it's a very unique situation. We'd see a whole lot of this going on.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the group's okay with that. I mean, you get basically 3-1 kind of on here, of raising it up as long as it meets the code or the building code requirements.
So then regarding the issue of spacing between the buildings, there again, it seems like it will be an exploratory process on their end to decide if it's more cost-effective or appropriate to try to bring the Sarah Hughes House up to the
that
same code and evaluate them as one, or move the electric meters and the window and create a firewall on both buildings. And there again, I'm okay with either. In other words, I don't see how they can significantly increase, I don't see how they can move any of those exterior walls very much without starting to lose a couple units, and if they're within the realm of a building that will provide that much housing, I think it has merit, So I guess I would be okay with the separations shown between the buildings, and then it would be their determination how they achieve it. If they move the electrical equipment and blank out the window and do 2 firewalls, or have it
into
all
one unit.
reviewed as 1 unit and bring the Sarah Hughes House up to, does that make sense?
It makes sense. But
Yeah.
You've got also, well, we can talk about that some more. Let's let the applicant go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, based on the previous feedback we got from Jude and the team, we're able to get back to the architect, and they redrew the plan to shrink the building a little bit to create a bigger separation between the 2 buildings. So we lost a couple of bedrooms from the units out of the 6 units. So they're all pretty much studios at this point, because it was 4 studios and then 2 1-bedrooms. And so right now, because of the shrinkage, we lost the 2 1-bedrooms and they're all 6 studios. But there's enough space according to the code requirements to separation between the 2 buildings. And I believe Jude just got the email today, right?
Yes.
Yeah, with the new plans. So also for the HVAC and the municipal plates, they are in the way back of the building. So like Paul was saying, and Mr. Green, you can't really see it if it's up, but then that creates the space for the egress.
Right.
Super easy, yeah. So those additions were made after the last feedback from
Okay,
Jude's
thank
team,
you. That's helpful.
And also, just to clarify, we have about 5-foot building separation between the proposed new building and the existing building with these new changes.
Okay, that's great.
After the information we just received.
Yeah.
So on the opposite side, where the gutter would encroach, it seems to me like you're pretty much going to need to move that wall 5 or 6 inches off the property line to be able to get your gutter on and get your drainage in. The footing can be designed without a toe, but if you're going to have drainage there, your subgrade encroachment on the neighbor's property and the gutter encroachment. So it seems like you're going to have to move 5 or 6 inches. Are you on board with that?
Correct. We're working with the designer now to see what options we have to allow that, to not have that overhang on the property line.
Right, right. So you're going to shrink the building 5, 6 inches as opposed to sliding it closer to the Sarah Hughes house, as I see it.
Correction, we are, with that, the information we received, that was one of the options, one of the issues that we did take care of by pushing the setback. We're going 1 foot over to get clear from the property line. So we'll have that clearance for our footing as well as the gutter.
Oh, you're moving a foot off the property line?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So
But
it was shrunk a foot this way.
are you taking a foot out of the building, or are you moving it a foot closer to the Sarah Hughes house?
Essentially, we took a foot out of the building.
Yeah.
We took a lot of the width, we took a lot of that out to account for the 5-foot separation from the new and the existing, as well as the property line.
Okay.
So we took out roughly about 6 to 7 feet.
Got it.
Of the width of the building.
Got it.
So with a continuation and agreed, then we could come back and see a final plan that they can bring to us that,
Right, but
where
they-
we can really say, okay, go right down the line on.
They want to know what that plan, what we'll approve. I mean, that's what they're looking for tonight.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
we
they're
we
looking
do
for.
still have public comment this evening, so I just want to remind everybody.
Yes, you're
Okay.
right. I will get that in just a moment.
I have one more question. So am I understanding it correctly that the side wall, the side elevation is not the issue? It is literally just the eave overhang?
Correct, it's just the gutter that overhangs as well as the footing underneath the ground.
Footing of the, yeah, for the porch support?
Yes,
The footing or
correct.
the building?
Oh, with the porch is this.
Oh, we're talking about the porch?
Right.
This one right here.
Oh, correct. So that was also shifted over. And one thing that we proposed for this new idea, because they're considering that an open area for the firewall, we're considering sealing that area off and making that little section where that post is part of the firewall. And that would fix essentially that firewall issue that was called out. So essentially, it would be
Like a screen there?
kind of like a screen, but it would actually be framed in to look like the actual siding of the house.
The wing wall. Yeah, that was presented by Jude, and honestly, yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go next, was the porch. In my mind, and I think this was mentioned actually back in at our design advice, I think the porch should be symmetrical
Right.
with the front of the building. And I'm not thrilled with the appearance of walling that part in. So I guess, I was looking at what might be the options, and the building official suggested there may be a fire sprinkler that will accommodate leaving that post open, or a fire construction, a fire wrap. I guess you could explore those. Alternatively, rather than seeing a wing wall on that right side, I would rather see the 2 center posts move a little further apart and the 2 outboard posts go away. So the right and left match. This is just my own personal opinion. And then, because the overhang cannot protrude, and this cropped up in the design advice, the overhang on the porch cannot encroach on the neighbor's property, cannot project out beyond, let's say, the gutter going out past the right. The left should look the same. So in my mind, an appropriate look would, if you have porch beams, bring them in a foot on each side, and so it appears symmetrical, the same right and left. And I personally would be okay with eliminating the 2 outboard posts and just having 2 posts, move them out maybe a foot or foot and a half each way for more separation. That's a little unusual, but I personally wouldn't be real thrilled with the wing wall.
Or even reducing the size of the porch if you need to get some more square footage on the back end, reducing the size of the front porch. And if you need to have a porch cover, maybe you include like a pent or a visor, like a floating pent or visor coming down instead of porch supports at all. Or bracketing or some sort of other, under porch or under roof bracketing instead of the porch supports coming out. And then you could reduce the size of the porch to gain more, say, for the AC units, gain more that way, or, I don't know, there's just, the porch
Yeah, I
seems problematic in my opinion, just in general.
But I think I agree with, on Mr. Green's thing. It needs to be symmetrical. The
Right.
front
Right, it's not
appearance.
symmetrical, if there's a fire code issue,
Yeah.
there's, all the, and then you need to gain more feet somewhere, right? So why not reduce maybe the size of the porch or take off those porch supports altogether and have it be a floating porch roof or a bracketed porch roof and remove the supports altogether because that just seems problematic in
Yeah,
general.
I would be okay with
Yeah.
no posts.
Yeah,
that'd be
same.
Yeah.
Especially if that gained you some footage on the back end
Yeah.
and less visibility of your unit or your AC units or anything like that.
Okay, any other questions, anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, I had a quick question on the basically on the plan, exterior materials, it mentioned hardy siding, it mentioned vertical T&G clear stain. And I don't think you're suggesting like a natural finish on the lower level, are you? Aren't you intending to replicate what's on the Sarah Hughes House as far as siding?
Correct, yes, lab siding, and yeah, we're trying to make it as close as possible without being that.
So you're on your data sheet that you supplied, you're showing Hardy Artisan. So I'm guessing that's the Hardy Artisan channel siding vertical on the lower portion, and then just standard Hardy lap siding on the top? With
That
the
is
same-
correct.
Okay. So it matches, visually matches the Sarah Hughes House?
Correct.
Yeah.
I do have a quick question regarding the cantilever and the porch. Would the board be opposed to the second story cantilevering out to where we essentially delete the patio cover and cantilever the second story out to have that covered area?
I would
Like
not want
to deepen the eaves is what you're saying, to create a,
I think he's talking about the whole building. I
Yeah,
wouldn't want
but
to
you're
see
just
the,
eliminating the porch roof.
eliminating it altogether
Yeah,
and bringing the second story out, yeah.
no, I wouldn't like that myself.
Essentially bring the second story out 1 to 2 feet, and then that remaining area would be the porch cantilevered with no posts.
Right.
Because as it sits now, it's proposed, I believe it's 6 feet cantilevered out. If we can go about 1 to 2 feet, then we would have enough for a cantilever to where we have 0 posts.
Yeah.
And we get away from that whole firewall post issue that we have.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I think if it's done the correct way, I don't have
yeah, I wouldn't want to see the upper floor cantilevered more than it is now. It's 2 feet cantilever, the upper floor.
The upstairs isn't cantilevered at all. It's all straight. It's on the same plane.
It's not showing it,
yeah, it
Oh,
looks
right
like
there,
it's
yeah. It's
it's
out,
not showing it on,
at
Correct.
least.
Yes, correction, yes.
Okay,
There's about a 1.5 foot cantilever. So essentially, that would total itself to about 3 to 4 feet if we popped it out and got rid of the patio cover.
I would not want to see the upper story expanded that much to
Yeah.
create a porch.
No.
I think you still need a porch roof at the single-story level, in my mind.
I agree with that. I think to.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, no, I actually, when looking at the side elevation, I thought of that. And that's seen in building era, like the era of build of these buildings, but mostly in commercial structures. So to me, there would have to be some sort of decorative element added, maybe on the side, some corbelling or something like that, right? It can't just be like cantilevered out and left alone, because that just seems not necessarily appropriate, but I don't hate the idea, but it seems like I'm maybe the only one that doesn't, so.
Well, I think architecturally, I think because we're so close to the Sarah Hughes House, architecturally, I think it would look too modern.
It would be too much?
It'd be too much.
Yeah, or
I
too
think,
commercial in my mind. In other
Yeah.
words, the
Yeah,
old commercial look.
it's a vernacular style of doing things.
Yeah, kind of a
it's-
storefront.
It's not going to match, like more of
Yeah.
the Victorian things.
Yeah.
It's more of a, storefront commercial.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be a choice, but I prefer a floating pent and it, either be floating or bracketed or something like that and the reduction of the size of the porch that way than just floating out the second story. But I do think that is a natural inclination and, it makes sense, but I don't know that it's a design appropriate.
Thank you. And just to clarify, the board would be okay with the patio cover essentially staying in that similar design, but cantilevering out so there's no post below. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yep,
Right.
Okay.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
So you're building, let's say if you're building your upper story cantilevered out 2 feet and your porch cover cantilevered another 3 feet beyond that to give
Right.
you a 5-foot cover.
And then you could reduce actually the porch roof size, right? Because you're floating that, you could even place the pent, the visor a little bit higher, maybe, a little bit of space between the upper window sash and, but you could reduce that depth of the porch by raising it up a little bit more, bringing it closer to the house. I think that would solve at least, a foot of your problems, which it seems like every foot counts on this one, so.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Excellent. Any other, I want to get some, we have some
Yeah,
folks.
I did a little time check too. We have 2 other applications this evening.
Yes.
We're at about 8:20. We have public comment, so I think we're looking to make sure we get the public comment, and then the 2 things we need, I think, is agreement from the applicant to extend the 120 by 30 days, and then just after public comment, reiterate as succinctly as you can.
Okay.
When we're at time issues, what your succinct direction back is.
Okay?
And then either continue the application and decide if you want to pre-approve the demolition or wait until January.
Okay.
I've been taking notes as to some of the items that you've discussed. One of the items that we haven't discussed yet, which we can do after the public comments, is the extent to which window removals are acceptable to achieve some of these objectives on the Sarah Hughes House.
What was that again?
The degree to which that window removal might be acceptable on the Sarah Hughes House to achieve some of these objectives.
Okay.
That, I'm unclear about the direction
Okay.
on that.
All right.
These other items I'll read back to you and at that time after we get
Okay.
public comments in and we can
Yep.
see where we're at.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm going to have some folks have some comments. So first we'll have Nini Thomas. You don't? Okay. Christina Lugo.
If you want to press the button 2 for green.
Hi, my name is Christina Lugo. I'm the owner of the ADJOURNMENT house, which is directly next door to the Sarah Hughes House. This property will change the fundamental structure of the relationship between these 2 houses. They've been existing side by side for 120 years, and they were both historically houses in which families lived. The Sarah Hughes House was adjusted about 4 years ago to basically be a unit of 5 apartments. And now the proposal adds another 6 apartments to a structure which still contains the exact same footprint that it has since it was platted. This fundamentally changes the nature of that property, and it changes the nature of the property in relationship to the surrounding neighbors. The current owner has been an excellent owner of the house, and the occupants of that house have been great. So we haven't had problems with that. This is going to lead to the creation of 11 SRO units in one building. We have had problems with other properties in the neighborhood that are SRO units. There are 2 SRO units within the same block, and we have had problems with drugs, with homelessness, with trash, and I don't anticipate that with the current owner. The current owner has really taken good care to have good tenants, but a future owner may not be so careful. When you have 11 SROs, which are all studios, it's going to attract a certain kind of demographic. As long as they're vetted and, you know, we have good neighbors, that's great, because we're increasing the number of neighbors we have by a factor of 2, basically. I'm also a little concerned because the back of the unit does take away some of our skyline, you know, which we've always had until this time. But I'm impressed. The current owner of the building rents to, to single women, to people of color, to people who are looking for housing in an increasingly difficult place in which to find housing. And I think there's a real value in that. So, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I'm a little concerned about the adjacent building being so close to our property. I'm a little concerned sometimes about fire issues when you have a building with 6 people living in it, and it's basically butting up right against our building where there wasn't one before. So I kind of have mixed feelings. I'm not really speaking for or against.
Okay, thank you, Christina, appreciate it. Okay, the other 2 folks I have are for later, so we'll call on them at that time. All right, any other comments from the public? Do we have any online? Not. Okay, thank you. All right, this time then we'll, do you have any comments after that you want to make? The applicant? Anybody?
Well, she was leaving. I just wanted to address that since I've taken. Since the property has been taken care of, I've owned the place for the past, since 2016, and, made sure that, like she said, rented to, properly vetted people, people of color, people that need the place, obviously women as well. And the whole plan is to continue that. There has been a lot of, demand for housing, and that is why this idea has come up. Instead of trying to go buy something else, I'm like, the property is already here, there's a little bit of space, let's see what we can be able to make to accommodate more people. So we still plan to continue to take good care of the property and the tenants and the neighbors as well. This wouldn't change anything at all. So there will be 10 total units, not 11. And the whole idea is to actually upgrade the landscaping at the same time, and the Sarah Hughes building to sort of give it a refresher at the same time, to have it all looking the same and looking really good for the neighborhood.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for your comment. Okay, we will now, let's close the public hearing and bring it up to discuss. I think we beat it up.
Yeah, we have.
So let's, I'll leave, Jude, you want to kind of go over the issues and then we'll,
So.
Split out the demo?
well,
Yeah, I think that was one of them.
that's one of our options.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's listen to a Jude and then we
Okay.
can make that determination with a vote.
A lot of these questions have been resolved in combination with one another based on what you've discussed, and so I just want to make sure that it all fits together, it all meets what you have in mind. I've heard that egress areas at the southeastern lot line may be resolved by high-mounted mini-split units. This could keep the building from needing to be moved a further 2 feet toward JQ Adams. That would need to be in combination with sprinklering in order to retain the egress windows if the building didn't move. So that would be a provision there. Outboard porch posts may be removed to retain wider set inboard posts or floating porch cover or sprinkler solution, not a firewall extension. Porch cover would still be necessary. Porch depth may also be reduced to accommodate more egress area at the rear along the southeastern lot line. So if you're bringing the building forward, you can get some of those extra feet by reducing the porch depth. That's what I heard. The cantilever of the first floor, of the second floor shouldn't increase from proposed without additional decorative elements. And those items resolve the essential questions, most of the essential questions except for the window questions and the minimum separation between buildings to not adversely impact the existing structure. So the windows and the building separation questions, the applicant has noted that their plan revisions involve 5 feet of separation now between the two. And so I just wanted to remind you of that and just seek further direction on the building separation and window questions.
So that would not require, if they're 5 feet, that would not require the removal of the electrical. It would have to move, but that wouldn't require the removal of the window? Because it's over the...
I can't speak for the building official, but that is my understanding.
That's my understanding too. So that's kind of a moot point then. If that is 5 feet, then we don't need to worry about removing the window out the historical.
So I will retain 5 feet of building separation.
What is the separation at the rear of the building with the ladies that came in, her structures? How close are?
That's like the garage. It would be their garage, not
Yeah,
their house.
for the other
Yeah, if you
property
look at the
owners.
map of where they are, it would be the garage of their back garage.
Okay.
It doesn't affect their house, it'd be the garage. This was brought up again.
But the back garage is still a structure,
It is still a structure, correct.
okay? And is there a need then for, what is the separation with that?
The current proposal shows 3 feet. The applicant sent me an email a little bit ago showing a new plan that's now 5 feet off of that property line.
Okay,
If I'm just estimating, let's see here, 1102 7th. This is a rough estimate, but if that building is moved 5 feet off the rear lot line, according to our GIS information, again, just an estimate here, that puts the building about 10 feet from the detached garage on the neighboring property, and well clear of the actual existing home on that property.
thank you.
Great. Okay. And Jude, you're covered. You're all good now. It's up to us.
So the window question?
The separation between the structures, that's his question. I'm personally okay with it. And I think I'm personally okay with the applicant finding his most prudent course of achieving the firewall scenario, either removing the window and electric meters on the Sarah Hughes House, or if he wants to bring that up to the same code and in order to achieve it that way. But as far as the physical separation between the buildings, it is a clear egress path. It works for me, and any
Right.
significant change is basically going to wipe out units, so.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm also okay with it. Good.
Okay, so we can take both of these items. Do you want to do them one at a time?
I think that the key element right now is for them to have a kind of a reworked plan that meets building code.
Right.
And that, and we give, they agree to a continuation so that it can be brought back to us.
Yep.
And with the extension also of the minimum time
Yeah.
that's required. And if those are agreeable, and then they bring it back, and we can see that it's complete.
Yeah. I have one comment. So, and I'll try to be quick. Twice we've heard that people have issues with the height. And again, this is sort of splitting hairs here, but to gain a little bit of that skyline and reduce the height of the structure in comparison to the historic home in front of it, would you be open to hipping that front gable? Because the rest of the roofs, the subsequent ones are hipped. And then there would be a hipped kind of look about the porch, whether it was a pent or the existing porch. I think that might reduce the size of the home in comparison to the historic house next to it, because everyone kept complaining of the height. So again, that would just reduce it by a little bit. It wouldn't be a big deal. But you could say that you at least took care of people's concerns, neighbors' concerns, and public comments.
I didn't quite follow. What was the change you would suggest to?
Just hip that front,
Yes.
just lop it off.
It's a hip.
Well, reduce it to a
It's-
flat.
It's a
top.
612 now. Are you saying to reduce it to a lower?
Like the ones behind it.
Yeah, but that's one solid, is it not?
The front is not a gable, it's a hip.
Well, it's hipped, but I meant reduce the top, flat the top.
Oh,
of it.
flat the top.
Yes.
That would be, in my mind, not an appropriate architectural look,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's what I'm bringing it up to
yeah.
see what you all would think about it.
What
The
if-
subsequent roof forms are that way. So that might
Right.
take care of a height issue.
If those are accurate pictures, I don't see the big height issue.
Show me, yeah,
You know, I
Yeah,
mean, they're pretty darn close.
that might not, yeah, based on that
You don't
photo,
get
it
to
might
see the
not.
Sarah Hughes with that tree.
Right.
And it goes up quite a way. So I think overall, it's probably.
that rendering is actually, appears to be a little bit off, but when
Yeah,
you look
the
at the
yes.
actual plan, I think the new building is about a foot lower than the Sarah Hughes house, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's
That
hard
is
to tell
correct.
between this photo and then the plans.
The original thing that you presented, that was very tall. And I think maybe that's where
It had
people are
gables,
The
yeah.
height, okay.
Yeah.
confused on
Yeah.
that.
And maybe that's mine not having
Yeah.
familiarity with the, right. Okay, so
All right.
move on.
Probably the only, I think you're figuring 9-foot ceilings on both levels, correct? So about the only way to realistically do that would be to
Reduce the ceiling height.
minimize that to, let's say, the 8-foot ceiling on one level or something like that. I'm personally okay with it the way it is, but if they slide forward, it's probably going to slide down a little bit. One thing I was wondering, because the grade slopes up in the back, if you know, in trying to keep it down, if you may start burying that a little bit, I mean, and one consideration could be to raise the floor line in unit 3 a foot and just do 8-foot ceiling on that one unit so that the floor line, but that wouldn't change the overall height, other than the fact that if you slide forward, you might be able to drop a little bit. We're talking
Well, it
couple
sounds like,
inches. So it's not anything.
it sounds like you've
significant.
already taken care of it, and these comments were maybe from
Yeah,
a
I
previous
I think it's a non-issue.
rendition of the
Yeah,
plan.
yeah,
So
I-
that's totally fine
Yeah.
to me.
Okay, let's move on. We've got other people
Yep.
here. So we'll need a motion.
So
I
the
would make
question
a motion to,
is the motion tonight to approve the demolition or to hold off both proposals till
Good
January?
question, and that's what we're going to talk
Okay.
about. So
Right.
that's,
I would be in favor of approving the demolition.
I'm in favor of it as well.
So I would make a motion to approve HR 25-00013, which is the demolition with conditions as noted.
I approve, or I second that motion.
Okay,
we
Board
have-
Member Edgar?
Yes.
Board Member Green?
Aye.
Board Member Fulkerson?
Aye.
Board Member Powell?
Aye. All right, next. We need to,
So then the next would be a continuation.
Yeah, and I just need a confirmation from the applicant that the continuation and the extension of the 120 to 30 additional days is acceptable? Okay,
That is correct.
all right. So then you can make a motion to continue.
Okay, I move we continue HR 25-0014
to a date certain
to
of
date
the
certain
27th of
January 27th, 2026.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Board Member Egger?
Yes.
Board Member Green?
Aye.
Board Member Fulkerson?
Aye.
Chair Powell?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, so we
Thank you for
have
coming in.
1 hour and 15 minutes to get through 2 applications. We have an agreement that we stop at 10 unless there's unanimous consent to go past 10. So I'm going to hold a little bit harder time check. So I think our goal is to see if we can have this second application done by 9:15.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So let's get to the right one here. All right, so public hearing number 2, HR 25-00015, alterations to a previous approval for 15721 Washington Street. And I'll ask anyone if they have any ex parte contact, if they've been to the site or...
I have no ex parte contact, and I've been to the site.
And I have no ex parte contact. I've been to the site and no conflict of interest.
No conflict of interest or ex parte contact, and I have been to the site.
Great. And I also have been to the site. I have no ex parte contact. So we'll move on. And staff report. Jude again?
Me again.
All right.
Yes. So tonight I'm presenting the staff report and recommended conditions of approval for general land use application 25048 and HR 25-015. The historic review for alterations to approve new construction of an already approved accessory structure under HR 25005 at 15721 Washington Street, which is the Ezra L. and Blanche B. Pope House. Now, a notice of public hearing sign was posted. The letters went out in accordance with municipal code, and as of noon today, no public comments have been received for this application. The applicant is seeking approval to do 3 things: reorient the accessory structure so that its longest wall sits parallel to the front lot line, reduce the footprint of the accessory structure from 792 to 715 square feet, and remove 2 windows and an awning over the door from the now street-facing facade that once faced the north elevation. On point 3, the applicant has proposed 2 street-facing windows on the new facade with 4 windows facing the Pope House. They basically turned the building around, flipped it. Given that the original approval included a street facade with 4 windows and more of the building is to be directly oriented to the street, we recommend that the board consider requiring 4 windows along the street-facing facade, and with the potential option of granting the applicant the removal of 2 windows on the north elevation instead of the 2 on the street-facing facade. Staff finds that the proposed alterations to the accessory garage's relationship to Washington Street are appropriate and in fact more in keeping with the building orientation requirements of new construction in the mixed-use downtown zone. They improve on-site vehicular circulation, better enable more impervious surface to be returned to a natural state in the Natural Resource Overlay District, and will not adversely affect the historic significance of the Ezra L. and Blanche B. Pope House. So I've provided the following conditions of approval for your consideration. The applicant must obtain all necessary permits for the proposed reoriented new garage. These are all pretty standard. Applicant shall revise the structure street-facing facade to include 4 HRB design guideline compliant double-hung windows and submit product specifications to demonstrate compliance. The subject site is 15721 Washington Street. They're next to the old 82nd Drive crossing at Clackamas River, at the Clackamas River. The front lot line was significantly adjusted decades ago to accommodate the alignment of I-205 through the corridor, which is why the original accessory structure that was approved to be removed in the last approval was located over the lot line because of all that additional dedication in the 1960s. Anyway, the new structure is set to align itself along its longest wall with that front lot line. I provided the same photographs of the existing house in the staff report here that include the structure that was approved to be demolished in the lower right-hand corner of that image to the right. This structure will be replacing it roughly in that area of the site. And just to bring it back, the street-facing facade currently looks like this, although as I understand it, the applicant has removed some invasive bamboo along that frontage and applied for and received a natural resource exemption to do so, to remove the invasive species there. Next slide, please. So this, I wanted to provide kind of a back-to-back idea of the structure's new relationship with the street. It's not a night and day difference, but its longest wall is now against the front lot line. And so I wanted to sort of visualize, have that visualized for the Historic Review Board. The old configuration is on the left, the new is on the right. Let's see here. We can skip to the next one, actually. The accessory garage, I wanted to sort of show here that the original proposal is above. The south elevation is the street-facing elevation where you see 4 windows there and an offset. The north elevation also initially had 4 windows and a cantilevered awning over the half-light door. That elevation is now proposed to be flipped to the street-facing side, as you see below. The awning has been removed because of its depth issues, given it would have encroached over the property line if it were retained. The applicant has proposed the removal of 2 windows, so only 2 would be street-facing. However, their proposal retains 4 windows facing the Pope House on the north elevation. To reiterate, the Historic Review Board may consider these conditions of approval with an additional option to permit 2 window removals on the new north elevation instead of removals on the southern street-facing elevation. But staff recommends that 4 street-facing windows remain on that south elevation, which would also be more in keeping with the mixed-use downtown lineal window length to building ratio requirements that would apply generally in the zone. But so the options are to approve the proposal and adopt the associated findings with conditions, approve the proposal with modified conditions, deny, close the record and continue, or continue to and provide direction to the applicant on additional information with the record staying open.
Great, thank you. Staff, any comments or questions for staff?
Isn't there a fence already along that line? Is this fence going to stay there?
The applicant hasn't indicated any changes to the fence configuration in this application.
So the building will go right up against the fence? How much separation will there be between the fence and the building?
Oh, hold on, we'll wait till
We'll
then.
ask the applicant when he comes up, if you don't have that. Okay, any other questions of staff?
Nope.
Okay, great, thank you, Jude. All right, we'll bring the applicant up, if you'd like. Hi. Name and city, we know where you live.
Name's Ben Freeberg, owner.
And Todd Iceland Architects. To answer Paul's question about the fence is going to retain in its current location, but it currently is actually in the right-of-way fairly significantly.
If you look at the picture on the right, there's a line, yeah, right there. That's the fence that's way down. It's 20 feet onto the adjacent lot. It's been there forever. And there's actually a whole tree line through there. So I tried to vacate it, but they want to hold it for egress
And
potential.
utilities and.
Just in case they ever have to get access to the bridge again. And I originally designed the building to fill that whole section of the yard, so once I laid it out with the previous layout, it didn't make any sense. I
Well, we
had
may
no
bring
flow.
Max through there too, you never
What?
know.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Ben staked it out on the site and said, we've got to change this. Let's rotate it 180 degrees, and we did. And in doing that, we did make the changes to the windows. And part of that reason is because no one's going to see those windows because of the fence there and the berm that's out there.
And and initially, when you look at the original there on the upper left, I had less windows on that far side because I have an old van that I'm going to be storing right there. And essentially, it just gets baked so hot in that area, and there's just two vehicles sitting in that area that it doesn't really need that extra heat pounding in through that space.
What is the roof? The roof looks like it's and the design shows like it's a metal roof.
Yeah.
It is,
That's
and
what we're
that's
going
what
for.
was approved previously.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. And now the driveway we can flow. I can even pull an RV, a small RV through the whole space as a drive-through.
And it gives us a little more separation from the primary residence, which is the important resource here on the site.
I have no problem with flipping the structure around. Yeah, I think it actually makes more sense now, the way it's laid out. But, so we're talking about the window reduction though, correct? Okay.
I'm not opposed to putting a couple more windows on that to balance it out or whatnot, but ultimately it doesn't really help the space.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a moot point for the flow on the property.
Right.
There's going to be gardening on the left, and you will never see it when you pull in from the front of the building.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a utility building. I don't really see the need for the additional windows. It's a workshop, it's part of the garage. My opinion.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm on board with it.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant?
No.
All right. Thank you both. We
Hopefully we'll
appreciate
get
it.
there by 9.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you for your patience. We appreciate
Yeah.
it. Sometimes it just, you know how it goes, Todd. He's been here a long time. Okay, so back up to the commission.
I actually agree that it's a better design. Yeah, and I don't think he needs windows on that side because the fence is going to be there anyway, but I like it. I don't see any problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's better looking if there were
Yeah.
more windows on it, but obviously that costs more money and,
Can't beat a win-win.
You can't, that's right. All right, well, I'm open for a motion.
Sorry, removal of condition approval number 2. And then these build upon each other, so I just want to reiterate that this is just changing the pieces that are different, but the rest of the conditions from the original HRB application are still retained. So think of them, they're just stacked on top of each other. So when the applicant comes in for the building permit, Jude will look at the original and then as revised for this one. That's why you don't see that many conditions.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion.
Yeah, Move to approve with the stated, the staff conditions,
25-00005.
25-00015.
With the removal of condition number 2.
Beg your pardon?
Sounds like the removal of condition number 2, which,
That they have 4
Oh.
windows.
so if you aren't requiring any additional windows, you're just accepting the 2 that he has, and you would be removing condition approval number 2.
Okay, yes, then
So
with
we're-
removal of condition.
removal of 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
all right. Board Member Edgar?
Yes.
Board Member Green?
Aye.
Board Member Fulkerson?
Aye.
Chair Powell?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. We met our time goal, I think. And on to the next, HR 25-00016. That's 13030 Clackamas River Drive, the Hiram Straight House. And this is a solar installation on a primary facade of a designated structure.
I have the applicant available on Zoom, so when we get to public comment, I'll bring
Okay.
them up.
Great. So I will ask if,
Oh, you're also there? Okay, so I have somebody on Zoom. Okay, so if they want to speak who's on Zoom, when it gets to public comment time, let us know and we'll unmute.
great. Okay, I'll ask again, any board members have conflict of interest, ex parte contact, or been to the site?
No, I have no ex parte conflicts.
Have you
I've
been-
been to the site.
Okay, thank you.
And I have been to the site, no ex parte contact and no conflict of interest.
No ex parte contact, no conflict of interest, and I've been to the site as well.
Great. I also have been to the site, no conflict of interest or ex parte contact. So we will now, this is staff is, Melissa, you are.
Oh, let's make sure they're here.
Sorry. One more time. It's after 9, it's my bedtime. I am Melissa Lopez, the assistant planner here, presenting the staff report for the solar shingle panels on a primary facade of a designated historic resource, which is the Hiram Straight House at 13030 Clackamas River Drive. I would like to state that the file number is incorrect as shown on the presentation. It is actually GLUA-255-00049/HR-25-00016. Should be correct on your agenda notes. So basically, this is going to be another one that we're asking for, we're seeking direction. So we're going to give you some considerations based on the proposal, and then we'll ask for your direction. So this is the Hiram Straight House. It's a designated historic resource, and it's located outside of the historic district. We are looking, the applicant is proposing solar shingle installation on a primary facade. You can see it located with the red star here in the front, which they will also add the installation on that same roof plane, but in the rear, which is a secondary facade and can be approved under HRB policy number 12. Solstice shingles are designed to blend in discreetly, projecting less than 1 inch versus a normal solar panel. So under HRB policy 12, placement of solar technology on primary facade requires historic review board approval. So that is why we are asking you today to consider these items. So solar technology that meets the criteria that's listed here, I won't read it all, can be approved at a staff level. So really the only thing that we're looking at here is the shingles that are located on that primary facade, which is the red star that Christina is circling. Let's see here. So staff is seeking direction from you all, from the Historic Review Board, on whether the proposed solar panel shingles, we're calling them panel shingles because it appears to be a panel, but we're going to show you later. We've brought materials. So as the spec sheet shows, it looks as though it's a panel with like shingle style located onto it. So we are seeking direction that the solar panel shingles at the primary elevation is compatible and does not adversely affect the historic resource. This new type of solar panel is installed in line with the roof shingles, lies flatter on the roof, and appears more integrated with the roof system than a traditional solar panel. We have some images that were just submitted yesterday evening of finished projects in Portland that includes this solstice shingle. You can see them with the blue star. It's kind of hard to see with all these three pictures, but the next slide shows a little bit more up close what that will look like. The site location, it's a designated site which is located outside of a historic district. It's the Hiram Straight House. It's located on 13030 Clackamas River Drive. There is a designated historic resource next door, which is the John Straight House, who purchased that property from Hiram Straight. These are some images that were taken of the Hiram Straight House from the 1990 inventory sheet. The first picture is the front view. The second picture is the side view from that inventory sheet. It was built in 1856, and it's an excellent example of a classic revival style architecture. So here's some existing conditions. You can see with the blue arrow, this is street view looking east directly forward to front view of the house. And this is the side portion of the gable roof, although it is a primary facade. And the roof plane is obscured by some mature yard trees here. You can see that most of it is obscured, even when looking north from Clackamas River Drive from those yard trees. And there's just a portion of it that's viewed kind of when you pass that tree. We have some aerial views here to show you that this, where it's located in yellow, that's the primary facade that we're looking at. You can see that it's facing, the interior lot line. And they're looking to use the whole plane versus separating these locations out onto different secondary facade planes. The rear of the home is also along a street, Short Avenue. It is, it's not a through street, but they do have a through lot, so they are visible from two sides. The annual irradiance study, if you can see this blue arrow here, it's showing this roof plane 1 is where they're looking to put the solar shingles along that one roof plane. The blue arrow is pointing to the primary facade. The south facade of the landmark, which is that section 1 that they're looking to use, has a higher irradiance. It also maintains some side obscuring qualities and uses one full plane for a better visual. So planning staff is seeking direction from the Historic Review Board to determine if GLUA-25-0049 and HR 25-0016 does or does not adversely impact the Hiram Straight House at 13030 Clackamas River Drive. If the board finds that the proposed location of the solar shingles does not adversely impact the resource, staff recommends the following conditions of approval. Pretty basic. The applicant must obtain all necessary building permits, and any changes to roof materials that do not meet HRB policy number 5 and does not match the color of the solar panels, shingles, would be subject to a new historic review. So at this time, the options are to approve the proposal with the conditions, approve the proposal with modified conditions and provide revised findings, deny the proposal and provide revised findings, or continue the hearing and request more information.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. The applicant would like to come up, or well, let me ask first, questions of staff? No. Okay, come on up. If you could just give us your name and city of residence, and then you feel free to bring that up.
So I'm Jack Devine. City of residence is Ridgefield, Washington.
And I'm Ben Turry. I'm here in Oregon City, and it's my house.
Great. Okay, do you have a presentation or something you'd like to show us?
We basically just want to come and show you the solar panel itself. So this is a more expensive system. The one thing that we've noticed is this applicant truly cares about the historic aspect of his house. When we originally presented it, we've already reduced the amount of solar on the house. He's currently at like 50% of what he actually needs to offset his total energy usage. And, you know, we've looked at different planes, and all of the other planes he feels like negatively impact from either the back of the house or the front of the house. And so we know that typically the primary face of the house, you guys wouldn't accept it, but considering the limited visibility from the street, we thought that you guys would probably maybe have a more positive perspective of it once you've seen the panel. The fact that it's not sitting, 6 inches up off the roof. He is obviously paying more to do that because he wants to maintain that aspect of his property. And so we're just here to request that you guys.
Does that lay over top of the asphalt roofing?
This actually replaces the
It
shingle.
replaces it,
Yep.
so you integrate that with the shingles?
Yeah, we flash it together on the
Okay.
edges, yep.
And we actually got the thicker version, not the very thickest, but a thicker version of shingles, asphalt shingles, specifically so it'd sit even more flush with the additional solar. So
How flush is it?
It literally sits like this on the deck, and the shingles come up next to it, so the shingles are gonna stick up and offset this difference. So it's very minimal difference,
Very little difference.
very little difference.
So to remove it, you just have to replace it. Pull it and replace the shoe.
Correct.
And I would just like to say that, yeah, he's absolutely right in that a big part for us when we looked at doing this initially was really to offset the cost of heating the house because it only has about half an inch of insulation, the entire thing, and it's very large. It's very expensive in the evenings or in the winter. We really wanted to make sure it maintains it as an actual house because there's been a lot of proposals when we've talked with people about, what's the best way to maintain the property as a home. They've been like, well, you should turn it into offices. And we really don't want to do that. We'd like to maintain it as a place where people could actually live. So for us, it was, well, how can we offset the cost of the heating with the solar, but also not impact the view from the backyard or from the front yard, to the point where we're actually going to just do less solar so that it would actually look nice. We don't want it to look nice or look poor either or impact the historic nature of the home. If you're driving along the street, there's only about 10 feet you can actually see that roof plane as you quickly drive by. And that's why, like, me and my wife that was the only place we were thinking we could add it to the main structure of the house, specifically because we want to maintain the character of the home. And that's also why we went with a more expensive version that would sit flush and largely be unseen. But yeah, so I'm actually really excited to be able to talk to you guys because I figure we'll be in contact quite a bit over the years.
I have a question. So you say you're going to use less. Some of these photos that you'd shown, they were like little blotches, you know, on the roof. What is your, how do you think it'll finally look?
I hope it won't look too bad because you don't really see that plane. Even from the backyard, you have to get almost to the very side of the house to see it. I understand you'll still be able to see, like you're saying, big blotches, but that's from such a narrow view. I don't think it'll impact the character of the house because there are very few spots within the property or without the property you'll be able to see it. And for us, being able to look at it straight on or even slightly askew and not having it sit way above makes it look very natural. Then you don't notice the color as much. That was kind of our thinking in picking this particular kind, was that you wouldn't be able to see it really from most angles. That was kind of what we had thought. We think it'll look pretty good when it's done. At least that's our hope.
Well, I'm curious, like what percentage of the plane will be covered with?
Oh, that I don't know.
I mean, it's like 50%, 40%?
We basically went with as much as we could possibly get on that plane. It's probably going to be like 75. You have to leave a perimeter around with the shingles. So you have access to walk to get up there. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's...
No, that's okay. What I was more worried about was having a patch.
Yeah, like a bunch of little tiny patches.
I applaud the concern of the owner to have something in such an important building that it is as compatible as you could possibly be and still get solar. I think it's great.
So, one question related to what Chair Powell mentioned. You need access around it and so forth. Do you envision on that roof slope that as it goes up the valley, you'll have a stair-step configuration, or, okay, so it'll stair-step up, kind of follow the valley up, but then you would be basically paralleling the ridge and the rake? Okay.
Do you have a question?
Nope.
Nope? Question?
Nope.
Okay. I did have another question, but now I seem to have lost it. I know. Are you re-roofing as well?
Yes, we're re-roofing the entire thing, so we're trying to get it all done at once before the end of the year.
Try and match the color of the dark?
Yes.
Go more dark.
What you have is pretty light gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, right now it's currently a wood shake roof. We looked at that initially, and that was unfeasible with the cost, really. But yeah, so it would be a darker roof than what we have right now.
Well, that'll certainly benefit darker.
It seems like the staff report mentioned black roofing.
Yeah.
Is that what you're figuring, black roofing?
Yes, black roofing that should match the panels, so the panels should stick out like a sore thumb.
Great.
I don't find any objection.
Oh, real quickly, Marcy, if you're part of the applicant, did you want to say anything tonight? You can unmute yourself, Marcy, if you want to say anything.
Marcy.
You don't know Marcy? Marcy?
She said no.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We have no one else who wants to speak, as far as I know.
Oh, we have a Lucas.
Lucas is one of his would like.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then we will close the public hearing and bring it up to the commission.
I have no problem with it.
The one thing that's interesting to me is that in our solar discussions, part of the justification for solar installations on historic buildings was that they appear readily removable. In other words, you're not changing the material of the house, and that's the one thing I struggle with with this application. It's an installed product as opposed to an attached product.
But if they're already replacing the roof materials, then, if they're already replacing the roof materials, then the shingles, if it was like a clay tile roof or something like that, I might push back, but.
And honestly, I don't have a problem with the location. We've approved other installations like this. It's obscured by the tree and not terribly noticeable.
From the road.
But it's just, and honestly, I wholeheartedly would agree with Board Member Edgar's comment on an applicant that is obviously willing to go the extra mile in the public perception of a discrete application. It's just that, you know, it was kind of this, I was mulling over this, you might say, purist application where, you know, it's obviously attached and removable, you know.
Right.
But I'm supportive of what they're doing here because
I would move to approve GULA 25-00049 and HR 25-00016.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
A second.
Board Member Fulkerson?
Aye.
Board Member Green?
Aye.
Board Member Edgar?
Aye.
Chair Powell?
Aye. Thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in, and we appreciate your dedication to your home.
Yes. The
absolutely.
greenest building is the one that already exists, so.
Okay, I guess it's back up to us, and for Christina, you have communication?
I don't have much communications other than I hope you have a really wonderful December. And we'll see you in January. And for the 2 open board positions, those were sent in. And nowadays, our city recorder is in charge of coordinating with applicants and the city commission on interviews. So I won't be involved. So you will hear something from the city recorder about details related to that.
And there are no requirements, education requirements. It was just the one position that.
Yeah, the way the Historic Review Board, it's 5 distinct positions, a member of Kenema, a member of McLaughlin, a member of the Chamber of Commerce, an architect, and an at-large position. So they're very kind of bespoke openings.
Okay.
And you just have to go online and do the application, I think,
Yeah,
correct?
and we have both from the existing members. So just more of, I will not be contacting you, somebody else from the city will be.
Okay, very
So,
good.
For the compatible change, for Board Member Edgar, there was some homework with, what was our homework?
The,
Yeah, the
hold on.
policy 13.
Policy 13, you can watch back on the video, but there was some great conversation related to dormers and percentage, and I'm going to incorporate those in the updated version, and hopefully we'll have kind of a finalized conversation in January.
I can look that,
Yeah.
I'll
So.
watch it.
Yeah, great, because I think there's
All right.
good stuff in that. All right, well, happy holidays to everyone. Thank you very much for everything you do for us. We really very much appreciate it, and looking forward to a wonderful 2026.
2026, see
Yep.
you in the new year.
And thank you for your patience tonight.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. It goes
Yes.
long sometimes, but.
Thank you for yours.
Yeah.
Those my staff report, the first one was a doozy. So.
No,
Was a deuce.
There's a lot
Chew
there.
on that one.
A lot there. All right, well then, if nothing else, anything from the commission that you'd like to bring up? All right, nothing on, then we will adjourn.